Sharing your expectations about teaching is very important with your inclusion teacher. So, I'm going to share 4 different styles that I've encountered during my experience in co teaching. So, in my experience co teaching, I have co taught with someone that did not want to teach at all. I've done alternate teaching, done small group teaching, and last minute teaching, and I'm going to explain each of these in a little more detail. First is no teaching. So, in no teaching, this has only happened twice. And I had a co teacher that either had never been in an inclusion classroom or had never been in a math classroom. So, they were very uncomfortable being in front of students or very uncomfortable with the math. And in this situation, we started with baby steps. So, I explained that they have to establish that they are a teacher in this classroom to earn the students' respect because it is a high school class. And students will pick up really quickly if there's an imbalance among the teachers. So we start off with having them do small things like the warm up or check homework or classwork, or they were maybe in charge of passes or taking attendance. We just had to make sure that every day they were interacting with the students. And they never taught a lesson in the year that I taught with them because they were just too uncomfortable. But they did slowly become more comfortable leading the warm ups in front of the students or checking activities in front of the students, and just interacting with the students each day. So they never did teach, but they did become more comfortable. Next is alternate teaching. Alternate teaching is probably the one I have the most experience with. I've had a lot of different co-teachers feel a lot of different ways about these. And so there's a few different things that we have done. One is switch by topic. So if there was a topic that my co-teacher was really passionate about, they would teach that topic. If there's a topic I was really passionate about, I would teach the topic. So we switched teaching based on the lesson that was going to be taught. The next one is by section. So I did get a lot of very new, brand new to teaching teachers. And so what they would do is they would watch me teach it to the first class. Then in the second class, they would teach part of the lesson. And then in the third class, because a lot of times we taught 4 together, in the third class and fourth class, they would teach the entire lesson. And then the next year, they would be comfortable enough with the material to teach by topic. The last one is by activity, and this is where we really alternated back and forth. So one person would do the warm up, the next person would do the lesson, classwork, activity. And this one was really helpful for me as a teacher. I have been able to learn a lot from my co teachers. Put bleachers here because one of my co teachers taught me ascending and descending order to the students by having the students go up or down the bleachers. And this really stuck with them. So anytime I teach this lesson, I still use bleachers as an example or have students stand up or sit down, because the physical activity with those words seems to help them stick. So I learned a lot with my co-teachers by teaching by activity. Then we have small group. Small group teaching I really only experienced at the middle school level. The others I've done at both the high school and middle school level. And this is where we split the class up. And the students would get the same lesson, but we would split them up based on their needs. So sometimes certain students left the room, other times different students left the room. So we base this on the topic we were covering and the needs of the students. We also changed up who was leaving the classroom. So sometimes the inclusion teacher would stay in the main classroom, sometimes they would go with a small group. It depended on the students' needs and where those students were staying. And so we had to be careful here just because students start to pick their favorite teacher and asking to go when maybe they needed to stay. So we just had to be careful here in making sure that we really selected the small group based on the students' needs and the topic that was covering. The last one is not ideal, but it is last minute teaching. And I will say that this begins with trust. You have to trust your co teacher. Your co teacher has to be able to trust you. So, some last minute teaching occurred when one of us had a last minute absence or one of us got pulled for a meeting as inclusion teachers. Sometimes you get pulled at the last minute or for the topic. So I had a co-teacher one time that would walk into the room, look at the board and say, "Oh, I'm going to teach this topic today. I have a really great way. The students always remember it." And this is where you have to trust them. And I will say that the co-teachers I've taught with that have walked in and said, "Oh, I'm teaching this topic. Like I've got a great way." It went smoothly each time. So that comes back to trust. I just trusted that they knew the topic and a way to teach it that maybe I did not know. and it seemed to work out for us each time, but that's really because we trusted each other and trusted that the other one was doing what was going to be best for the students. So these are my experiences with teaching and co-teaching, and I would say that you have to share the expectation early so that both of you are on the same page about what you think this co-teaching is going to look like, where your comfort level is, both in teaching and with the material, and make sure you're listening to each other. So the next topic is going to be on advocating and how I've learned to advocate for my students and my schedule and how to advocate with my co-teacher. So if you have any questions or a topic you would like to see, just leave me a comment and I'll work on making a video on it.